Chapter 1. Meet the Trump Family. Welcome, listeners. Today, we explore a powerful family that has made headlines around the world. At the center of it all is Donald Trump. But today, we aren't just talking about him. We're talking about his sons, Eric, Donald Jr., and Barron. How many sons does Trump have? What do they do? Let's take a journey into their lives, their achievements, and yes, even their challenges. Donald Trump is known for many things: business tycoon, television star, and of course, the 45th President of the United States. But behind the fame, there's a story of family. A big family. With children from different marriages, Donald Trump's personal life is as complex as his career. Let's start with his sons. He has 3. Donald Trump Jr., Eric Trump, and Barron Trump. Each of them has a different story. Each of them grew up under the spotlight. But their paths are not the same. Today, we'll dive into their world. The oldest son is Donald Trump Jr., often called Don Jr. He was born in 1977. His mother, Ivana Trump, was Donald's first wife. Ivana was a former model and businesswoman. She played a big role in raising Don Jr. His childhood wasn't ordinary. He grew up in a home filled with luxury, surrounded by wealth and privilege. But money didn't make life perfect. Don Jr. had to learn to be tough. His father was a demanding man, and expectations were high. Don Jr. spent summers with his grandfather in Czechoslovakia. There, he learned to hunt and fish. "It taught me discipline," he later said. But it wasn't just about adventure. It was about responsibility. His grandfather taught him that success doesn't come easy. You have to work for it. But life wasn't always smooth. As a teenager, Don Jr. struggled with his parents' divorce. Ivana and Donald separated in 1991, and it was very public. The newspapers wrote about it, and photographers followed their every move. Imagine being a teenager and seeing your family's problems on TV. It wasn't easy, but Don Jr. stayed strong. He went to college, graduated, and later joined the family business. Today, he's one of the key figures in the Trump Organization. The second son is Eric Trump, born in 1984. He's 7 years younger than Don Jr., but they share a strong bond. Eric's childhood was similar, filled with luxury, travel, and public attention. But Eric was quieter. He preferred staying in the background while Don Jr. liked the spotlight. Eric has always been practical. As a child, he loved building things. Lego towers, model airplanes, you name it. His mother, Ivana, said Eric had a creative but focused mind. While his older brother was adventurous, Eric was more thoughtful. But don't be fooled by his calm nature. He's ambitious too. Today, he's an important part of the Trump Organization and runs a charity called the Eric Trump Foundation. And then there's Barron Trump, the youngest son. Born in 2006, Barron is the child of Donald Trump and Melania Trump, Donald's third wife. Barron is much younger than his half-brothers. When Donald Trump became president, Barron was only 10 years old. He moved into the White House with his parents and became the first child to live there since John F. Kennedy Jr. Unlike Don Jr. and Eric, Barron has mostly stayed out of the spotlight. His mother, Melania, has been protective of his privacy. But what we do know is that Barron is very close to his mom. Melania once described him as strong and independent, but polite and thoughtful. He speaks multiple languages, including Slovenian, his mother's native tongue. He's also a fan of sports, especially soccer. But being part of the Trump family isn't just about wealth or power. It comes with challenges. Each of Donald Trump's sons has faced criticism, pressure, and public scrutiny. Every decision they make is watched closely. Imagine living like that. But they've learned to handle it. Their father, love him or hate him, taught them how to be resilient. "Don't let anyone tell you who you are," Donald once told them. "You decide that." Family dinners at the Trump household were not typical. Discussions about business, politics, and success filled the room. Failure was not an option. Don Jr. once said that his father's advice was simple but tough. Work hard, don't complain, and always aim for the top. But behind the serious advice, there were also moments of laughter. The brothers often played pranks on each other. Don Jr. teased Eric for being the quiet one, while Eric called Don Jr. the wild one. And when Barron was born, both older brothers said, "Finally, someone we can teach all our tricks." So, what makes this family unique? Is it their wealth, their power? No, it's their bond. Despite the challenges, the disagreements, and the pressure, they stick together. Don Jr. once said, "At the end of the day, we're family." And that means everything. As we continue this journey, you'll learn more about each son's life. You'll see their successes, their struggles, and their dreams. But one thing is clear. Growing up as a Trump is no ordinary life. So, are you ready to dive deeper? Let's see how each of Donald Trump's sons found their own place in the world. Chapter 2. Donald Trump Jr., the oldest son. Donald John Trump Jr., born in 1977, is Donald Trump's first son. His mother is Ivana Trump, Donald Sr.'s first wife. Donald Jr. grew up in New York, surrounded by wealth and luxury. But his life wasn't always as perfect as it seemed. Today, he is known for his role in the family business and his political voice. Let's explore how Donald Jr. became one of his father's closest allies. Donald Trump Jr., often called Don Jr., was born into a world of privilege. His family lived in Trump Tower, a skyscraper in the heart of Manhattan. It had everything: a view of the city, golden decorations, and rooms bigger than some people's houses. But Don Jr.'s childhood wasn't just about luxury. There was pressure, too. His father was a successful businessman who expected results. "Don't waste your time," Donald Sr. would say. Time is money. From a young age, Don Jr. understood that life in the Trump family wasn't simple. He had nannies and tutors, but his parents were often busy. His mother, Ivana, was a businesswoman and fashion model. She traveled often for work. His father was constantly making deals. Don Jr. later said, "I had to grow up fast." But there were happy moments too. In the summer, Don Jr. visited his mother's parents in Czechoslovakia. There, life was different. No tall buildings, no business meetings, just nature. He learned to fish, hunt, and spend time outdoors. His grandfather, Miloš, was strict but loving. He taught Don Jr. how to work with his hands. "You don't get anything for free," Miloš told him. Don Jr. remembered those words forever. School life was another adventure. He attended prestigious private schools in New York, but it wasn't always easy. Some classmates teased him because of his family's fame. "They thought I had everything handed to me," Don Jr. said. But they didn't see the pressure behind it. He worked hard in school, but he also loved sports. Skiing, wrestling, and soccer kept him active. Sports became his escape. When Don Jr. was just 12 years old, his parents' marriage ended. The divorce was public, messy, and painful. Reporters followed Ivana and Donald everywhere. The newspapers printed headlines about their arguments. Imagine being a kid and seeing your family on the front page of every magazine. Don Jr. felt embarrassed and angry. "I hated it," he later admitted. "I just wanted to be normal." After the divorce, Don Jr. spent most of his time with his mother. Ivana was strict. She made sure her children understood the importance of education and discipline. But Don Jr. also missed his father. The two didn't always see eye to eye during those years. "We had our fights," Don Jr. said. "But deep down, I admired him." In college, Don Jr. wanted to prove himself. He didn't want to be known just as Donald Trump's son. He enrolled at the University of Pennsylvania's Wharton School, one of the top business schools in the country. There, he studied finance and real estate. But he wasn't the typical rich kid. He worked hard. His classmates noticed his focus. He wasn't flashy or lazy. He was determined. After graduating, Don Jr. made a surprising decision. Instead of joining the family business right away, he moved to Colorado. He lived in a small town, far from New York's skyscrapers. He worked at a bar, went fishing, and spent his time in nature. It was a chance for him to be independent. "I needed to find myself," he said. "I didn't want to be in my father's shadow." But the break didn't last forever. In 2001, Don Jr. returned to New York and joined the Trump Organization. At first, he worked on small projects, but his father quickly noticed his potential. Don Jr. had a good eye for real estate and strong negotiation skills. He climbed the ranks quickly, managing construction projects and major deals. One of his most important projects was Trump International Hotel in Chicago. It was a big task, but Don Jr. delivered. The project was successful, and his father praised him publicly. "He's not just my son," Donald Sr. said. "He's a businessman." But Don Jr. wasn't just interested in business. He also had a passion for hunting and the outdoors. He traveled to places like Africa and Alaska for hunting trips, which sometimes caused controversy. Animal rights activists criticized him, but Don Jr. stood his ground. "It's part of who I am," he said. "It's how I connect with nature." In 2016, Don Jr.'s life took another big turn. His father ran for President of the United States, and Don Jr. played a key role in the campaign. He gave speeches, attended rallies, and defended his father on TV. His speeches were passionate, and his presence was powerful. Some people loved him, and others criticized him. But Don Jr. didn't back down. "I'm here to support my father, no matter what," he said. The campaign wasn't without controversy. Don Jr. faced questions about his meetings with foreign officials and his involvement in political decisions, but he stayed loyal to his father. "Family comes first," he said. "We stick together through the good and the bad." Today, Don Jr. continues to be a major figure in both the business world and politics. He manages key projects for the Trump Organization and supports Republican candidates across the country. His journey hasn't been easy, but it shaped him into a leader. He once said, "I've made mistakes, but I've learned from them. My father taught me that failure isn't the end. It's just the beginning of a comeback." Chapter 3: Childhood Adventures with Donald Jr. Imagine a little boy running around Trump Tower with a toy car. That was Donald Jr. As a child, he was curious, playful, and sometimes even naughty. His parents had big plans for him, but did Donald Jr. follow the rules? We'll talk about his youth, his education, and those early years that shaped his personality. Donald Trump Jr. was born into a world of luxury. His home was not a simple house. It was Trump Tower, a skyscraper in the middle of Manhattan. He had everything a child could dream of: expensive toys, fancy clothes, and a bedroom that looked like it belonged to royalty. But Don Jr. didn't care much about material things. He loved adventure. When he was little, he would race his toy cars down the long hallways of Trump Tower. His laughter echoed through the rooms. Sometimes he played hide-and-seek with the house staff. But hiding in a building with so many rooms wasn't easy. His nanny would often say, "Donald, where are you hiding this time?" And he would giggle as she searched for him behind doors and under tables. But life wasn't just about playing. His father, Donald Trump, believed in discipline. "No time for being lazy," he would say. "You need to learn early if you want to succeed." Little Don Jr. would watch his father make deals on the phone. He admired the way his dad spoke with confidence, but sometimes it felt like too much pressure. He was just a boy. Did he really need to think about the future already? His mother, Ivana Trump, had her own way of teaching lessons. Ivana was strict, but she also believed in fun. She once said, "Let him play, but make sure he learns something." She would take Don Jr. and his siblings on trips to museums and art galleries. She taught them table manners and how to speak properly. At dinners, she made sure Don Jr. sat up straight and said, "Please and thank you." When he was about 6 years old, something funny happened. One day, Don Jr. decided to play a prank on his mother. He took her expensive high heels and hid them under his bed. Ivana searched everywhere. "Donald! Where are my shoes?" she yelled. Don Jr. couldn't stop laughing. But when she finally found them, he learned an important lesson. Ivana wasn't someone you could fool easily. Summers were a different adventure. Don Jr. often visited Czechoslovakia to stay with his grandparents. Life there was simple. No skyscrapers, no luxury cars, just small towns, farms, and forests. His grandfather Miloš was a serious man. He woke Don Jr. up early in the morning to help with chores. They would go fishing, fix broken fences, and work in the garden. A man must know how to do things with his hands, Miloš said. At first, Don Jr. didn't like waking up so early. He wanted to sleep in. But over time, he began to enjoy the fresh air and the smell of the countryside. He learned how to catch fish and cook them over an open fire. He loved walking through the woods and watching deer run past. These experiences stayed with him forever. He once said, "That's where I learned what hard work really meant." Back in New York, school was another part of Don Jr.'s life. He attended elite private schools with students from rich and famous families. But being a Trump didn't make things easier. Some of the other kids teased him. They thought he was lucky just because his father was famous. "You have it easy," they would say. But Don Jr. didn't think so. His teachers expected him to be perfect. His father expected him to succeed. It felt like everyone was watching him. But Don Jr. wasn't just about schoolwork. He loved sports too. Wrestling became one of his favorite activities. It gave him confidence and taught him discipline. Wrestling was tough, and it pushed him to his limits. His coach once said, "Don Jr. is a fighter. He never gives up, even when it's hard." Despite the discipline at home and school, Don Jr. was still a curious and playful boy. One day, during a family dinner, he accidentally spilled grape juice on his father's white suit. Everyone at the table froze. What would Donald Sr. say? But to everyone's surprise, his father just laughed and said, "Next time, don't aim for me." It was a rare moment of humor in a family where success was taken seriously. Don Jr.'s childhood was full of lessons. Some were fun, and some were difficult. When he was 12 years old, everything changed. His parents divorced, and it wasn't quiet. The media covered every argument and court appearance. Paparazzi followed them everywhere. Don Jr. once said, "I didn't want to be famous for that." It was a tough time. He missed having both parents at home. He often felt caught between them. But Ivana, his mother, helped him through it. She told him, "Stay strong, Donald. Life isn't always fair, but you have to keep going." Those words stayed with him. Even when things got hard, Don Jr. found a way to stay positive. He focused on school, sports, and his hobbies. By the time he was a teenager, Don Jr. had changed. He was no longer the mischievous little boy running around Trump Tower. He had become more serious. He wanted to prove himself, not just to his father, but to the world. "I don't want people to think I'm just the son of a rich man," he said. "I want to earn their respect." As we move forward in his story, you'll see how those childhood lessons shaped the man he became. From playful pranks to serious responsibilities, Don Jr. learned early that life would challenge him. but he was ready to face it. Chapter 4. Eric Trump, the Business Mind. Meet Eric Trump, the second son of Donald and Ivana Trump. Born in 1984, Eric was always a bit different from his older brother. While Donald Jr. loved the spotlight, Eric preferred staying behind the scenes. But don't let that fool you. Eric plays a major role in the Trump Organization and has left his own mark in business and charity work. Let's discover how Eric's quiet nature hides a sharp, strategic mind. Eric Frederick Trump was born on January 6, 1984 in New York City. From the moment he could walk, Eric's world was surrounded by wealth, tall buildings, and luxury cars. His father, Donald Trump, was already a successful businessman. His mother, Ivana Trump, made sure her children understood the importance of manners and discipline. But while Eric and his older brother, Don Jr., shared a glamorous life, their personalities couldn't have been more different. As a child, Eric was calm and observant. He didn't rush into things. While Don Jr. played pranks or climbed trees, Eric sat quietly, thinking. He loved puzzles and building things. His favorite toys were Lego sets and model airplanes. "I always wanted to figure out how things worked," Eric said. Even when he was young, he was curious about construction. He liked visiting building sites with his father and asking questions about the cranes, the workers, and the materials. But growing up as a Trump wasn't all fun and games. Like his siblings, Eric faced the pressure of high expectations. His father believed in hard work. "If you want to be successful," Donald Sr. often said, "you have to earn it." Eric listened carefully. His parents' words stayed in his mind. Eric's childhood was also shaped by a major event, his parents' divorce. He was only 7 years old when it happened. The media followed the divorce closely, and reporters asked questions wherever the family went. But Eric stayed strong. His mother, Ivana, once said, "Eric was my rock during that time." While his older brother struggled more emotionally, Eric quietly supported his family. He focused on his schoolwork and kept his feelings inside. During school, Eric discovered his love for sports. He enjoyed playing golf, tennis, and skiing. But unlike Don Jr., who loved the competition, Eric saw sports as a way to relax. Golf became his favorite. "On the golf course I could think," he said. "It was peaceful." Later in life, this love for golf would help him manage one of the family's biggest business ventures, Trump Golf Resorts. Eric's education was top tier. He attended Trinity School in New York, one of the oldest private schools in the U.S. His teachers admired his focus and organization. Eric always came prepared, one teacher recalled. He wasn't the loudest student, but he worked hard. After graduating, he went to Georgetown University in Washington, D.C., where he studied finance and management. His goal was clear. He wanted to work in the family business, but on his own terms. After university, Eric officially joined the Trump Organization. At first, he worked on small projects, but over time, he earned bigger responsibilities. One of his major tasks was overseeing the development of luxury hotels and golf resorts. His strategic mind helped him negotiate deals and manage construction schedules. He wasn't afraid to spend hours reviewing blueprints or discussing budgets with engineers. While Don Jr. often handled the public relations side of projects, Eric focused on the details. One of his proudest achievements is the Trump Winery in Virginia. When the family bought the property, it was struggling. But under Eric's management, it became a successful business, producing award-winning wines. "I'm proud of what we built," Eric said. "It wasn't easy, but we made it happen." But Eric's talents didn't stop at business. In 2007, he founded the Eric Trump Foundation, a charity that supports children battling cancer. The foundation raised millions of dollars for St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. Eric often visited the hospital to meet with young patients. These visits were emotional. "Seeing those kids fight so hard, it changes you," Eric admitted. He once said that helping others gave him more joy than any business deal ever could. Despite his success, Eric remained grounded. He didn't crave the spotlight like some of his family members. "I'm happy being the guy behind the scenes," he said, but that doesn't mean he avoided the public eye entirely. During his father's 2016 presidential campaign, Eric stepped up. He traveled across the country, gave speeches, and defended his father's policies. "I believe in him," Eric said during a rally. "He's a builder, a problem solver, and I know he'll fight for America." However, being part of the Trump family also brought challenges. Eric faced criticism from the media and political opponents. Some questioned the family's business practices, while others attacked him personally. But Eric stayed calm. "You have to block out the noise," he explained. "Focus on what matters." In 2014, Eric married Laura Yunaska, a TV producer and former journalist. They now have 2 children together. Becoming a father changed Eric's perspective. "It's no longer just about me," he said. "I think about the future, about what kind of world my kids will grow up in." His family life helped him balance the stress of work and public attention. Today, Eric is still deeply involved in the Trump Organization. He manages multiple properties and works closely with his father and siblings, but he hasn't forgotten the lessons from his childhood. The importance of hard work, loyalty, and staying true to yourself. "Success isn't about being loud or flashy," he said. "Sometimes it's about working quietly and letting the results speak for themselves." Eric's story is one of growth, resilience, and quiet determination. He didn't seek fame, but he built a reputation as a strategic thinker and a dedicated family man. As we continue this journey, you'll see how his role fits into the larger Trump family legacy. Chapter 5. Growing Up, Trump, Eric's Journey. Eric loved building things, from Lego towers to real estate projects with his dad. His childhood had its ups and downs, including his parents' very public divorce, but Eric stayed strong and focused. Let's follow his path from a boy who loved the outdoors to a businessman who builds skyscrapers. Eric Trump's world was filled with skyscrapers, luxury, and high expectations. But as a child, he didn't focus on the fame or wealth. He was more interested in creating things. When he was little, his room was always full of toys. But Eric didn't play like most kids. He built. Lego towers, bridges, and model cities covered his floor. His parents joked that he was a little architect. His love for construction didn't stop with toys. Eric's favorite activity was visiting construction sites with his father. He watched as cranes lifted steel beams into the air. Workers hammered, drilled, and measured. The noise, the machines, the energy, it all excited him. He would hold his father's hand and ask 1,000 questions. What does that machine do? How do they know where to put the walls? His curiosity was endless. Donald Sr. was happy to see Eric's interest. If you want to learn, his father said, you have to observe and ask questions. Eric listened carefully. He followed his father around, taking mental notes. He didn't just want to watch, he wanted to understand. But life wasn't always exciting. When Eric was just 7 years old, his parents' marriage ended. The divorce was all over the news. Reporters stood outside their home. Paparazzi followed them everywhere. Imagine going to school and hearing classmates whisper about your family's problems. It wasn't easy, but Eric stayed calm. He didn't let the chaos affect him too much. I knew my parents loved us, he later said. That's what mattered. Eric found peace in the outdoors. Unlike his older brother, Don Jr., who loved attention and adventure, Eric liked quiet moments. He often spent weekends at his grandparents' house in Czechoslovakia. There, he fished in rivers, explored forests, and helped with farm chores. His grandfather, Miloš, taught him to be patient. Good things take time, Miloš said. Whether it was catching a fish or building a house, Eric learned to wait, observe, and work steadily. In school, Eric was a dedicated student. He didn't need to be the best at everything, but he always tried his hardest. His teachers praised him for being focused and disciplined. He enjoyed science and math because they involved problem solving. But his favorite subjects were those that allowed him to create. Art classes, design projects, and even building simple machines fascinated him. One summer, when Eric was about 10, he helped his father on a small building project. His job wasn't glamorous. He carried tools and cleaned up debris, but he loved it. He watched the workers pour concrete and saw the walls take shape. It was a lesson in patience and teamwork. That summer, Eric realized something important. I don't just want to visit construction sites, he thought. I want to be the one who builds them. But even as Eric focused on learning and building, there were challenges. Being a Trump came with pressure. Everyone expected him to succeed. His father was strict. Work hard, Donald Sr. often told him. There's no excuse for laziness. Sometimes Eric felt the weight of those expectations, but instead of rebelling, he stayed quiet and focused. He didn't seek approval through loud achievements. He let his actions speak for him. Outside of school and family projects, Eric loved sports, especially golf. Unlike other competitive sports, golf allowed him to think, plan, and improve at his own pace. His father took him to golf courses regularly. "This game is more than hitting a ball," his father said. "It's about strategy and discipline." Those lessons applied to more than just sports. They became part of how Eric approached life and business. When Eric entered high school, he continued to excel in academics and sports. But he wasn't just a typical teenager. While others focused on parties or popularity, Eric thought about his future. He knew he wanted to be part of the family business, but he also wanted to make his own mark. He admired his older brother, Don Jr., but didn't want to follow the same path. "I didn't want to be in anyone's shadow," Eric said. "I wanted to build something unique." After high school, Eric went to Georgetown University. He studied finance and management, knowing that these skills would help him in the business world. College was a time of growth. He learned to balance academics, social life, and internships. During summers, he worked at the Trump Organization, gaining hands-on experience. His tasks weren't always glamorous, but he didn't mind. "I started from the bottom," he said. "I wanted to learn every step of the process." One of the most defining moments of Eric's early career came when he managed his first real estate project. It wasn't a huge skyscraper or a major hotel, but it was his responsibility. He had to oversee budgets, schedules, and workers. There were problems along the way. Delays, mistakes, and unexpected costs challenged him. But Eric didn't panic. He used what he had learned from his father and his childhood experiences. He stayed calm, asked questions, and found solutions. In the end, the project was completed successfully. His father was proud. "You handled it well," Donald Sr. told him. "That's how you earn respect." By the time Eric graduated from college, he had built a reputation as a problem solver. He wasn't flashy, but he was effective. He worked on major projects like the Trump International Hotel in Washington, D.C., and the family's golf resorts. His ability to balance creativity with strategy made him a valuable asset to the family business. But Eric's journey wasn't just about buildings and business. He also cared deeply about helping others. In 2007, he founded the Eric Trump Foundation to support children battling cancer. His trips to St. Jude Children's Research Hospital inspired him to do more. "Seeing those kids fight with courage, it changes you," he said. Eric's childhood lessons shaped who he became, a man who builds not only skyscrapers, but also meaningful connections with people. His journey shows that success isn't always about being in the spotlight. Sometimes it's about working quietly, staying focused, and building something that lasts. Before we begin Chapter 6, a quick note for our listeners. You're currently listening to this audiobook on WooEnglish. Remember, this content is specially made for WooEnglish listeners only. If you're hearing it on any other channel, it may be a violation of WooEnglish's rights. Please ensure you're tuned into the right source to fully enjoy and respect this audiobook journey. Now, let's continue the story. Chapter 6. The bond between Donald Jr. and Eric. Brothers. They argue, they compete, and they support each other through thick and thin. Donald Jr. and Eric have been business partners for years. But do they always agree? How do they balance family loyalty with professional responsibility? We'll uncover the secrets of their bond and how they've stayed close despite the pressure of the Trump name. Donald Trump Jr. and Eric Trump grew up in the same world. They shared the same parents, the same luxurious home, and the same demanding father. But they were not the same boys. Don Jr. was loud, confident, and full of energy. Eric was calm, quiet, and thoughtful. Despite their differences, they formed a special bond. When they were young, they spent hours together, running through the halls of Trump Tower. Don Jr. always led the way, with Eric close behind. They played pranks on the house staff, hid in closets, and raced their toy cars down the marble floors. But it wasn't just games. They also supported each other through tough times. Their parents' divorce was one of those times. Don Jr. was 12, and Eric was only 7. It was hard on both of them, but Don Jr. felt the impact more. He was older and understood what was happening. He saw the arguments, read the headlines, and heard the whispers at school. Eric, too young to understand all the details, leaned on his older brother for comfort. Don Jr. became his protector. When Eric felt confused or sad, Don Jr. was there to tell him, "We'll be okay." That protective nature didn't fade as they grew up. In fact, it became stronger. But their bond wasn't always perfect. Like all brothers, they fought. Don Jr. teased Eric for being quieter, and Eric would get frustrated when Don Jr. took control of everything. Once, during a family vacation, they argued about who would lead a hiking trip. Don Jr. wanted to take the faster, riskier path. Eric preferred the safer route. Their father stepped in and said, "You're both strong-willed, but you need to work as a team." That lesson stayed with them. At school, their different personalities were obvious. Don Jr. loved being the center of attention. He made friends easily, and often entertained his classmates with jokes and stories. Eric, on the other hand, focused on his studies and kept a smaller circle of friends. But even though they had different experiences, they always checked in with each other. "Don Jr. made sure I was okay," Eric said. "If I had a problem, he was the first person I told." Their relationship changed when they entered the business world. After college, they both joined the Trump Organization, working side by side on major projects. But working with family isn't always easy. Don Jr. was used to making quick decisions, while Eric preferred careful planning. "We have different approaches," Don Jr. said, "but that's what makes us a good team." One of their biggest challenges came when they managed the development of Trump International Hotel in Washington, D.C. It was a high-stakes project. The building was historic, the budget was large, and the deadline was tight. Don Jr. focused on public relations, talking to investors, and promoting the project. Eric managed the construction, making sure everything was on schedule. They had to trust each other completely. "If one of us failed, the project would fail, Eric explained. There were moments of tension. During a meeting, Don Jr. suggested changing part of the hotel's design to attract more luxury clients. Eric disagreed. It will delay construction, he warned. The room went silent. Both brothers were stubborn, but instead of fighting, they compromised. They adjusted the design without affecting the timeline. The project was completed on time and became a success. That experience taught us how to work together, Don Jr. said. We don't have to agree on everything, but we have to listen. Outside of work, their bond remained strong. They often went hunting and fishing together, just like they did when they were kids visiting their grandfather in Czechoslovakia. Those trips were more than just fun. They were a chance to relax, talk, and reconnect. In nature, there's no business, no meetings, no deadlines, Eric said. Just us. But their relationship wasn't just about business or family vacations. They also supported each other during personal milestones. When Don Jr. faced a public breakup and criticism in the media, Eric stood by him. I told him, "This is temporary. You'll get through it," Eric said. And when Eric started his charity, the Eric Trump Foundation, Don Jr. helped promote the cause and attended fundraising events. We're family, Don Jr. said. When one of us succeeds, we all succeed. During their father's 2016 presidential campaign, their bond was tested again. The campaign was intense, with constant travel, speeches, and media attention. Don Jr. played a bigger role in public, giving interviews and making headlines. Eric handled logistics, making sure events ran smoothly. There was pressure from all sides, critics, reporters, and even political opponents, but they faced it together. We had each other's backs, Eric said. That's how we survived it. Even when the campaign ended, the lessons they learned stayed with them. Today, they continue to lead the Trump Organization, managing hotels, golf resorts, and luxury properties. Their bond is stronger than ever. We've been through a lot, Don Jr. said. Success, failure, public criticism. But we never let it break us. What makes their bond special is their ability to balance family loyalty with professional responsibility. They know when to support each other and when to challenge each other. Eric once said, Don Jr. pushes me to be bold, and I push him to be careful. We complement each other. Their story shows that even in a high-pressure world, family can be your greatest strength. They don't always agree, but they always stand together. As Don Jr. once put it, we're brothers. At the end of the day, that's what matters most. Chapter 7. Ivana Trump, the mother who raised them. Ivana Trump, Donald Sr.'s first wife, was not just a mother. She was a driving force. She taught Donald Jr. and Eric discipline, ambition, and even their first lessons in business. She once said, raising them wasn't easy, but it was worth it. Let's learn how Ivana's guidance helped shape her sons into who they are today. Ivana Trump was born in Czechoslovakia in 1949. Her early life was very different from the luxury and fame she would later experience. As a child, she was active and determined. She skied competitively and dreamed of achieving great things. She was not afraid of hard work or challenges. When she moved to New York in the 1970s, her life changed forever. That's where she met Donald Trump. They married in 1977 and soon started their family. Donald Jr. was born first, followed by Ivanka and then Eric. From the beginning, Ivana was a hands-on mother. She didn't just hire nannies and step back. She was involved in every part of their lives, from their first steps to their first days at school. But life in the Trump household wasn't ordinary. While many children lived simple lives, Don Jr. and Eric grew up surrounded by wealth, fancy parties, and powerful people. It could have spoiled them, but Ivana made sure it didn't. She believed in teaching discipline. If you want something, she told her children, you have to work for it. At home, she set strict rules. The children had to do their homework before playing. They had to say please and thank you and show respect to adults. If they didn't, there were consequences. I didn't raise spoiled brats, Ivana said proudly. I raised hard-working children. Ivana also believed in teaching ambition. She knew the world would expect a lot from her children because of their last name. She wanted them to be prepared. You can't just be rich, she told them. You have to prove you deserve it. She often took Don Jr. and Eric to business meetings with their father. Even as kids, they sat at the table, listening to conversations about real estate deals and construction projects. They didn't always understand what was being said, but they were learning. Don Jr. once said, "We didn't realize it at the time, but those meetings were our first lessons in business." Ivana also made sure they saw both sides of life. She didn't want them to think everything was easy. During vacations to Czechoslovakia, the boys helped their grandfather with chores. They fed the animals, worked in the garden, and learned the value of effort. But Ivana wasn't just strict. She was also loving and fun. She planned family trips, birthdays, and skiing adventures. The children remembered skiing down snowy mountains with their mother leading the way. She was fast, fearless, and competitive. "Keep up!" she would shout as she raced ahead. These trips created memories they would cherish forever. However, Ivana's love wasn't always soft. She pushed her children to be their best. When Don Jr. struggled in school, she didn't accept excuses. "You can do better," she told him. And he did. When Eric wanted to give up on a difficult project, she reminded him, "Winners don't quit." Her advice stayed with them throughout their lives. When Ivana and Donald Sr. divorced in 1991, it was a difficult time for the family. The media reported every detail. The children saw their family's problems on TV and in newspapers. But Ivana didn't let the divorce break her or her children. She took charge of raising them, and her role as their mother became even more important. "I had to be both mother and father," she said. She taught them how to handle criticism and pressure. "The world will always have something to say," she told them. "But what matters is what you believe about yourself." Her words helped Don Jr. and Eric develop resilience. They learned how to deal with public attention and criticism without letting it defeat them. Ivana was also a role model for success. After the divorce, she built her own career. She launched businesses in fashion, jewelry, and cosmetics. She wrote books and gave interviews. Her children watched as she worked hard and achieved success on her own. Don Jr. once said, "She showed us that you don't have to rely on anyone else. You can be strong and independent." As Don Jr. and Eric grew older, they often turned to their mother for advice. Even when they started working at the Trump Organization, they still called her for guidance. "She wasn't just our mom," Eric said. "She was our coach." Ivana was proud of her son's success, but she never let them forget where they came from. "Stay humble," she told them. "Never forget what you've learned." Ivana's influence can be seen in the way Don Jr. and Eric lead their lives today. They work hard, face challenges head-on, and value family loyalty. They understand the importance of discipline, ambition, and resilience. Lessons their mother taught them. Looking back, Ivana described raising her children as her greatest achievement. "I built skyscrapers with Donald," she said, "but my biggest success is my children." Don Jr. and Eric have said the same about her. "Without her, we wouldn't be who we are," Don Jr. once admitted. Ivana Trump's legacy is not just about her own success. It lives on through her children. Her guidance, love, and lessons shaped them into the men they are today. Men who understand the importance of hard work, family, and perseverance. Chapter 8. Entering Politics. Donald Jr. and Eric Step Up. In 2016, their lives changed forever. Donald Sr. ran for president, and suddenly, Donald Jr. and Eric were in the spotlight, making speeches, managing businesses, and standing by their father's side. But how did they handle the pressure? And what role did they play in his political campaigns? Listen closely as we unravel their political journey. It was early 2015 when Donald Trump Sr. called his family together. He had an announcement. "I'm running for president," he said, his voice filled with confidence. The room went quiet. Don Jr. and Eric exchanged glances. They knew this would change everything. "Are you sure?" Don Jr. asked. But deep down, they both knew the answer. Their father wasn't a man who made small plans. From the moment Donald Sr. officially launched his campaign in June 2015, Don Jr. and Eric were by his side. They didn't just watch from the background, they jumped into action. Don Jr. became one of the campaign's most visible speakers. His job was to rally supporters, connect with voters, and defend his father in the media. He traveled from state to state, speaking at events, shaking hands, and giving interviews. For Don Jr., it wasn't just about supporting his father. It was personal. "I believe in him," Don Jr. said during one of his early speeches. "I know what he can do for this country." Eric, on the other hand, took a different role. He preferred working behind the scenes. His focus was on managing logistics, organizing events, and keeping the campaign running smoothly. While Don Jr. stood in front of crowds, Eric was busy coordinating travel schedules, setting up meetings, and making sure everything was on time. "I'm not the loud one," Eric admitted, "but that doesn't mean my role isn't important." The brothers faced intense pressure. The media followed their every move. Reporters asked them tough questions, critics attacked their family, and political opponents tried to discredit their father. Don Jr. often found himself in the middle of controversies. He was asked about Donald Sr.'s comments, his policies, and even the family business. But Don Jr. didn't back down. "I'm used to the spotlight," he said. "It doesn't scare me." One of Don Jr.'s most memorable moments came during the Republican National Convention in July 2016. He stood on stage under bright lights in front of thousands of people. His speech was emotional and powerful. He spoke about his father's success in business, his love for the country, and his vision for the future. "We need someone who knows how to win," Don Jr. said. The crowd cheered, and Don Jr. smiled. He had done his job. But not every moment was positive. There were challenges and controversies. In 2017, after the campaign ended, Don Jr. faced questions about a meeting he had with Russian officials during the campaign. The media called it a scandal, and Don Jr. was criticized for his involvement. He had to testify before Congress and defend himself in interviews. "I did nothing wrong," he said. But the experience was stressful. It tested his ability to stay calm under pressure. Eric faced his own challenges. Running the Trump Organization while helping with the campaign wasn't easy. The family business was under scrutiny. Reporters asked questions about conflicts of interest and business deals. But Eric stayed focused. He managed golf resorts, hotels, and real estate projects while balancing his role in the campaign. His calm nature helped him handle the stress. "We grew up in the spotlight," Eric explained. "We know how to handle tough situations." Despite the pressure, the brothers knew they were part of something historic. They felt the excitement at rallies, where thousands of people waved signs and chanted slogans. They saw the energy of the crowds and believed in their father's message. "This isn't just about him," Don Jr. said. "It's about making a difference." One of their most emotional moments came on election night, November 8th, 2016. The family gathered in a room, watching the results come in. Each state was announced on TV, some in their favor, others against. The tension was high. Would their father win? Would all the hard work pay off? When the final announcement came, the room exploded with cheers. Donald Trump had won. He would become the 45th President of the United States. Tears filled their eyes as they hugged their father. "We did it," Don Jr. said. Eric stood silently, taking it all in. It was a moment they would never forget. But the victory was just the beginning. They knew that their roles wouldn't end with the campaign. "Now, the real work starts," Eric whispered to Don Jr. During their father's presidency, both brothers continued to play important roles. Don Jr. became a vocal supporter of his father's policies, appearing on TV shows, speaking at events, and using social media to defend the administration. His tweets often made headlines, both for praise and criticism. "I'm not afraid to speak my mind," he said. Eric focused on running the Trump Organization. With his father now in the White House, Eric and Don Jr. were responsible for managing the family's businesses. They worked closely together, balancing politics and business. It wasn't always easy. The media continued to watch them closely, looking for mistakes, but they relied on each other for support. "When things got hard," Eric said, "we reminded each other of why we started." Their journey into politics wasn't planned. Neither Don Jr. nor Eric had dreamed of being involved in a presidential campaign, but when their father needed them, they stepped up. They learned how to navigate the political world, handle criticism, and stay loyal to their family. Looking back, Don Jr. reflected on the experience. "It changed us," he admitted. "We learned how to be stronger, how to lead, and how to face challenges head-on." Eric agreed. "We didn't just support our father," he said. "We grew as individuals." As the brothers continue their journey, one thing is clear. They are more than just businessmen or political figures. They are brothers who stood together during one of the most intense periods of their lives. Their story is one of loyalty, resilience, and the determination to make their mark. Next, we'll explore how their experiences in politics shaped their future roles and the impact they had on the Trump legacy. Chapter 9. The Youngest Son, Barron Trump. Barron William Trump is different from his older brothers. Born in 2006 to Melania Trump, Donald's third wife, Barron grew up with cameras around him but stayed out of the public eye. What's life like for a boy growing up in the White House? We'll talk about his childhood, his relationship with his parents, and what makes Barron unique. Barron Trump was born on March 20th, 2006 in New York City. His arrival was special. Donald Trump was older than most new fathers. He was 59 when Barron was born. But that didn't stop him from being excited. Barron was Donald's youngest child and the only child from his marriage to Melania Trump. From the start, Barron had a life unlike most children. He grew up in Trump Tower, a luxurious skyscraper in Manhattan. His room was large, with tall windows overlooking the city. His toys weren't just ordinary cars and blocks. They included custom-made sets and gifts from important people. But despite the luxury, his mother made sure Barron lived with discipline and routine. "I'm raising him to be polite, respectful, and independent," Melania said in an interview. As a young child, Barron was very close to his mother. Melania, originally from Slovenia, spoke to him in multiple languages. Barron learned Slovenian and even some French as a child. Melania believed that knowing different languages would give him a strong foundation for the future. She often called him Little Donald because he reminded her of his father. "He's strong, smart, and loves to give his opinion," she said. Barron's early years were relatively quiet, but that changed when Donald Trump ran for president in 2016. Suddenly, the spotlight was on the entire family, including Barron. Cameras followed them everywhere. His face appeared on TV and in magazines, but Melania worked hard to protect him. "He's just a boy," she said. "He deserves a normal life." Even during the campaign, Melania kept Barron's routine simple. He went to school, played with friends, and stayed away from the chaos of political rallies. But Barron couldn't avoid the attention entirely. On election night, November 8, 2016, Barron stood on stage with his family as his father celebrated victory. He looked sleepy and overwhelmed, and the media noticed. Some people criticized him for looking tired, but others defended him. "He's only 10, they said. "Let him be a kid." In January 2017, Barron's life changed even more. His father became the 45th President of the United States, and the family moved to Washington, D.C. But unlike most first families, Melania and Barron didn't move to the White House right away. They stayed in New York for several months so Barron could finish the school year. Melania said, "His education is very important to me." When they finally moved to the White House, Barron became the first boy to live there since John F. Kennedy Jr. in the 1960s. The White House was different from Trump Tower. It was historic, full of paintings, statues, and rooms with stories to tell. Barron explored its long hallways and large gardens. But it wasn't just a home. It was also a workplace, with meetings, security guards, and visitors coming and going. Barron adjusted to life in the White House, but Melania kept things as normal as possible. She made sure he had a regular schedule with time for homework, sports, and relaxation. One of Barron's favorite activities was playing soccer. He joined his school's team and practiced regularly. "He loves the game," Melania said. "It keeps him active and focused." But being the president's son wasn't always easy. Barron had to deal with public attention and criticism. Sometimes people made jokes or negative comments about him online. Melania was quick to defend her son. She said, "He is a child, and he deserves privacy and respect." Many people agreed and supported her efforts to protect Barron from unnecessary media exposure. Despite the challenges, Barron showed strength and resilience. He rarely appeared in public, but when he did, he carried himself with confidence. At official events, he stood quietly next to his parents, watching and listening. He wasn't as outgoing as his older brothers, Don Jr. and Eric, but he had his own quiet charm. One thing that made Barron unique was his relationship with both of his parents. While Don Jr. and Eric were closer to their father because of business, Barron had a special bond with his mother. Melania was his primary caregiver, guiding him through school, sports, and social events. But he also looked up to his father. Donald Sr. once said, "Barron has a lot of my personality. He likes to take charge." During his time in the White House, Barron continued to grow and develop his interests. He enjoyed technology and video games, like many kids his age. He also loved building things, similar to his father's passion for construction. When asked what Barron wanted to be when he grew up, Melania said, "We'll see. He's still discovering his path." By the time Donald Trump's presidency ended in January 2021, Barron had grown significantly, both physically and emotionally. He was nearly as tall as his father and had matured into a thoughtful teenager. After leaving the White House, the family returned to Mar-a-Lago, their private estate in Florida. There, Barron continued his education and enjoyed a more private life, away from the media. Barron's journey is unique. He grew up in one of the most powerful families in the world, but his mother worked hard to give him a sense of normalcy. He learned how to handle public attention, face criticism, and stay grounded. His story isn't just about being the son of a president. It's about finding his own path, one step at a time. As Barron grows older, many people wonder what he will do next. Will he follow in his father's footsteps and enter business or politics? Or will he carve out a different path, away from the family legacy? Only time will tell. Stay with us as we continue to explore the Trump family's influence and how their legacy continues to evolve. Chapter 10. Barron's Early Life and Schooling. Barron, often called Little Donald, has always been close to his mother, Melania. He attended prestigious schools, played sports, and learned multiple languages. But despite the wealth and fame, Barron has lived a quieter life. Let's peek behind the scenes and see what makes him special. Barron William Trump was born in New York City in 2006, and from the very beginning, people noticed something special about him. He had his father's confidence and his mother's calm, gentle nature. Donald Trump often called him Little Donald, not just because of their physical resemblance, but because of his strong opinions and curious mind. Growing up in Trump Tower, Barron lived in a world of luxury. His bedroom was on the top floor, with tall windows overlooking the city. But despite the grand surroundings, his mother, Melania, made sure he had a structured and grounded life. She didn't want him to be spoiled or disconnected from reality. "I'm strict, but loving," she said. "He knows he has to work hard and be kind." One of the ways Melania shaped Barron's early life was through language education. Melania, who was born in Slovenia, often spoke to him in her native tongue. "He speaks Slovenian fluently," Melania said proudly. But that wasn't all. Barron also learned French and English from a young age. Melania believed that learning multiple languages would help him in the future. "It opens his mind," she said. Even as a toddler, Barron showed signs of being independent and confident. While other children needed help getting dressed or organizing their toys, Barron liked to do things on his own. Melania let him explore and make small decisions. "He likes to build things," she said. "He loves to be creative." When Barron started school, his education became a top priority for his mother. He attended Columbia Grammar and Preparatory School, a prestigious private school in Manhattan. The school had a reputation for academic excellence, and its students came from wealthy and influential families. But Barron didn't rely on his family name to get by. He worked hard in class, just like everyone else. His favorite subjects included math and science, and his teachers described him as curious and polite. Outside of academics, Barron loved art and building projects. He often created models using Legos or designed structures with building blocks. His mother encouraged these activities, saying they helped develop his problem-solving skills. But Barron wasn't just a creative thinker. He was also athletic. He had a passion for soccer and joined the school's team. Melania often attended his games, cheering him on from the sidelines. "He's competitive," she said, "but he knows how to be a team player." In 2016, when his father ran for president, Barron's world changed dramatically. His life, once private, was now under public scrutiny. Cameras followed the family to rallies, debates, and events. But Melania worked hard to shield him from the pressure. "He's a child," she said. "He needs space to grow." When Donald Trump won the election, the family moved to Washington, D.C. But Melania made a unique decision. Instead of moving to the White House immediately, she stayed in New York with Barron for several months. Why? She wanted him to finish the school year without any interruptions. "His education is important to me," she said. The media praised her decision, calling it a sign of her dedication as a mother. In June 2017, Barron and Melania finally joined Donald Trump at the White House. For Barron, it was a major change. The White House was bigger and busier than Trump Tower. There were security guards, political meetings, and visitors from around the world. But Barron adapted quickly. He explored the large gardens, played on the South Lawn, and even helped decorate the White House during the holidays. Barron enrolled at St. Andrew's Episcopal School, a private school known for its academic programs and small class sizes. The school emphasized creativity and critical thinking, which suited Barron perfectly. His teachers said he was a dedicated student who showed respect and curiosity. His classmates admired his kindness and sense of humor. "He's down to earth," one student said. "You wouldn't know he's the president's son." While at St. Andrews, Barron continued to pursue his love for sports. He played soccer regularly and practiced hard to improve his skills. His teammates said he was a natural leader on the field. But Barron wasn't interested in being the star player. He focused on teamwork and strategy. Melania said that playing sports helped him stay disciplined and healthy. Barron's relationship with his mother remained strong throughout his early years. Melania was his main caregiver, guiding him through school, social events, and public appearances. "We are very close," she said. "He knows he can talk to me about anything." But Barron also looked up to his father. Donald Trump described Barron as a tough, smart kid who shared his love for business and problem solving. Despite the attention that came with being the president's son, Barron stayed grounded. He wasn't interested in fame or making headlines. Melania ensured that he lived a life as normal as possible. "He knows how to handle pressure," she said, "but I want him to enjoy his childhood." By the time Barron left the White House in 2021, he had grown both physically and emotionally. He was nearly 6'7" tall, taller than his father, and had developed into a confident teenager. He continued his education in Florida, where the family settled after Donald Trump's presidency. His schoolmates described him as kind, respectful, and talented. Today, Barron is still exploring his interests and discovering who he wants to be. Will he follow in his father's footsteps and enter business or politics? Or will he pursue his passion for technology, building, or sports? Melania says it's too early to tell. "He's still growing," she said. "He has time to find his path." Barron's early life and schooling have laid a strong foundation for his future. With his mother's guidance, his father's influence, and his own determination, Barron has the tools to succeed in whatever path he chooses. His journey is far from over, but one thing is certain. He's already made a mark as a young man with intelligence, kindness, and ambition. Chapter 11. Life Lessons from the Trump Brothers. What can we learn from Donald Jr., Eric, and Barron? Family, hard work, loyalty, and resilience. Their lives are filled with success, but also moments of failure and controversy. How did they handle challenges and criticism? Let's reflect on the important lessons they've learned and what they can teach us. The Trump brothers have lived under the spotlight for most of their lives. From luxurious homes to intense public scrutiny, they have experienced both privilege and pressure. But behind the headlines lies a story of growth, challenges, and important lessons. For Donald Trump Jr., life has been a journey of self-discovery. As the eldest son, he faced high expectations from an early age. His father, Donald Sr., was a demanding role model. "Work hard, never give up," his father often told him. Don Jr. embraced this lesson, but his path wasn't always smooth. As a teenager, Don Jr. struggled with his parents' divorce. He felt the weight of their public separation and often acted out. But instead of letting the pain define him, he used it to grow stronger. He attended the University of Pennsylvania, where he studied finance. Later, he joined the Trump Organization and quickly took on leadership roles. His success didn't come without mistakes. "I've made bad decisions," Don Jr. admitted. But those failures taught him how to adapt and improve. One of Don Jr.'s greatest lessons is about resilience. In 2017, he was at the center of a political scandal involving a meeting with Russian officials. The media criticized him heavily, but Don Jr. didn't give up. He defended himself in interviews and continued to work hard. "I learned to block out the noise," he said. His ability to stay focused under pressure is something anyone can learn from. Mistakes don't define you. How you respond to them does. Eric Trump also learned valuable lessons, but in a different way. As the quieter brother, Eric often stayed in the background, but that didn't mean he avoided responsibility. In fact, Eric's lesson is about the power of persistence. He wasn't the most talkative, but he was one of the most dedicated. His mother, Ivana, described him as the one who always finished what he started. Eric learned early on that success doesn't come overnight. At the Trump Organization, he worked on construction projects and managed golf resorts. He paid attention to details and stayed patient. When things went wrong, Eric didn't panic. He found solutions. One of his key projects was the renovation of the Trump International Hotel in Washington, D.C. The project faced delays and budget issues, but Eric stayed calm and worked through the problems. His persistence paid off when the hotel opened successfully. Another important lesson from Eric is about balance. While he worked hard, he also understood the importance of giving back. In 2007, he founded the Eric Trump Foundation, which raised millions of dollars for children battling cancer. His work with the foundation reminded him, and others, that success isn't just about money or power. It's about making a difference. And then there's Barron Trump, the youngest of the three. Though Barron's story is still unfolding, he has already shown remarkable adaptability. He was just 10 years old when his father became the 45th president. His life changed overnight. He moved from Trump Tower in New York to the White House in Washington, D.C. The attention was overwhelming, but Barron handled it with maturity beyond his years. One of Barron's lessons is about staying grounded. Despite growing up in a wealthy family, he doesn't act entitled. His mother, Melania, has been a guiding force, teaching him to stay humble. She once said, "I want him to be polite, respectful, and kind." Barron's ability to stay connected to reality, even in the public eye, is a lesson many can admire. As Barron continues his education, he's learning about responsibility and independence. His love for soccer shows his team spirit, while his academic interests reveal his curiosity. He understands that success comes from continuous learning and hard work. He's still finding his path, Melania said, but he's on the right track. One thing that unites all three brothers is their commitment to family loyalty. The Trumps may face criticism from outsiders, but inside the family, they stick together. Don Jr. once said, "Family is everything to us." This loyalty was especially clear during their father's 2016 presidential campaign. They stood by him through every challenge, defended him in the media, and helped manage the family business. Their teamwork is a lesson in the importance of support during difficult times. But their loyalty doesn't mean they always agree. Don Jr. and Eric often have different approaches to business. Don Jr. is bold and outspoken, while Eric is strategic and detail-oriented. They argue, but they also listen to each other. This teaches an important lesson. Differences can be a strength. By combining their unique skills, they achieve more together than they could alone. Another shared lesson is about handling public criticism. The Trump brothers have faced their share of controversy, from business decisions to political scandals. but they've learned not to let negativity hold them back. You can't please everyone, Eric said, but you can stay true to yourself. This is a reminder that criticism is part of life, but it shouldn't stop you from pursuing your goals. Their mother, Ivana Trump, played a crucial role in shaping their values. She taught them to be ambitious but grounded, confident but humble. She always reminded us where we came from, Don Jr. said. Ivana's lessons are reflected in the way the brothers handle success and failure. They know that life isn't just about winning. It's about learning, adapting, and growing. In the end, the life lessons of the Trump brothers can be summed up in 4 words: hard work, loyalty, resilience, and growth. They've experienced both privilege and pain, but they've used those experiences to become stronger. Whether in business, politics, or personal life, they've shown that challenges can be overcome and that success is built on determination. Their journey isn't over yet. As they continue to build their futures, they will face new obstacles and new opportunities. But one thing is certain: the lessons they've learned so far will guide them, and those lessons can inspire anyone willing to work hard, stay loyal, and never give up. In the next chapter, we'll explore how the Trump brothers and Barron plan to carry their family legacy into the future. Chapter 12: The Future of the Trump Legacy. As we reach the end of our journey, one question remains. What's next for Donald Trump's sons? Will Donald Jr. continue in politics? Will Eric focus on growing the family business? And what about Barron? What will his future look like? We'll discuss their ambitions, their roles in the family legacy, and what the world might expect from the next generation of Trumps. The Trump family name is known around the world. From real estate to television and politics to business, the Trumps have built a legacy of influence and ambition. But what happens now? As Donald Trump Sr. steps back from the presidency, his sons are preparing to take the lead. Let's explore their futures and how they plan to continue their father's work, or create new paths of their own. Donald Trump Jr., the eldest son, has already shown his passion for politics. During his father's presidential campaigns, Don Jr. became one of the most visible members of the Trump family. He gave speeches, attended rallies, and often defended his father on television and social media. But will he stay in politics or return to focusing solely on business? For Don Jr., the answer may be both. "I'm interested in helping people," he said during a recent interview, "but I'm also passionate about business and creating opportunities." He's been mentioned as a possible future political candidate, with some speculating that he might run for office himself. "Politics isn't easy," Don Jr. admitted. "But if the opportunity is right, I won't back down." Whether or not he enters politics, Don Jr. will likely remain a strong public voice, using his platform to support candidates and causes he believes in. At the same time, Don Jr. continues to play a major role in the Trump Organization. He manages luxury hotels, golf resorts, and real estate developments. His bold decision-making style and confidence make him a key leader in the family business. One of his current goals is to expand internationally, bringing Trump properties to new markets around the world. "Our brand is global," he said. "I want to make sure it stays that way." Eric Trump, the quieter but equally determined brother, has a different focus. While Don Jr. enjoys the spotlight, Eric prefers working behind the scenes. His future lies in growing the Trump organization and maintaining its reputation. Eric's specialty is real estate development, and he plans to modernize and improve existing properties while also launching new projects. "I'm always thinking about what's next," Eric said. "We can't stay in one place. We have to keep building." Eric is also committed to philanthropy. His charity work with the Eric Trump Foundation has inspired him to find more ways to give back. "Success means nothing if you don't help others," he said. His future could include creating new charitable ventures or expanding existing ones. Balancing business and charity is important to Eric, and he believes that both can grow together. But Eric isn't interested in politics, at least not for now. When asked if he would ever run for office, Eric laughed and said, "That's more Don's world. I like making things happen quietly." His priority is ensuring that the family legacy remains strong through business innovation and responsible leadership. And then there's Barron Trump, the youngest of the brothers. Barron is still finding his path, but many people are curious about what his future holds. Will he follow in his father's footsteps and enter real estate or politics? Or will he choose something entirely different? Barron's strengths are creativity, problem-solving, and technology. His love for building things, combined with his interest in computers and engineering, could lead him to a career in technology or design. His mother, Melania, once said, "He has a brilliant mind, and he's always exploring new ideas." Barron might surprise the world by becoming an inventor, an entrepreneur, or a leader in the tech industry. But Barron also has the option of joining the family business when he's older. His brothers have already paved the way, and if he chooses, Barron could learn from their experiences. "We'll support him in whatever he decides," Don Jr. said. "Whether he wants to join us in business or create his own legacy, we'll be proud." As the Trump brothers move forward, they carry with them the lessons taught by their parents, Donald Sr. and Ivana. Hard work, loyalty, and resilience have been their guiding principles, and those values will continue to shape their decisions. They understand the pressure of being Trumps, but they also see it as an opportunity. "It's a big responsibility," Eric admitted, "but we're ready." In addition to business and politics, the brothers are also focused on family life. Don Jr. and Eric both have children, and they want to pass down the same lessons they learned from their parents. "We're teaching them to be tough but kind," Don Jr. said. "We want them to understand the value of effort and the importance of giving back." But what about the criticism that the family often faces? The Trump name is not without controversy, and the brothers know that their every move will be watched closely. Don Jr. has learned to embrace it. Criticism is part of the game, he said. It makes you stronger. Eric takes a more measured approach. I ignore the noise and focus on what matters, he explained. You can't let negativity slow you down. Their ability to handle pressure and adapt to challenges will be key to their success. The Trump legacy isn't just about maintaining the past. It's about creating a future. Don Jr. and Eric plan to innovate, explore new industries, and make sure the family name continues to grow. Barron, meanwhile, has time to discover his place, but he is already showing signs of leadership. As we close this chapter, one thing is clear. The Trump brothers are not just following in their father's footsteps. They are building legacies of their own, whether through business, philanthropy, or future political ventures. They are determined to leave their mark on the world. What will the next generation of Trumps accomplish? Only time will tell. But one thing is certain. Their journey has only just begun.